that giving away testing does not change the close ratio as much as you might think it would. The video that David and I did talking about charging for testing created a lot of questions. And one of those was from a gentleman talking about the fact that he had bought an auto repair shop or had started an auto repair shop, but that's not where his experience was. And he was having a lot of issues getting the production from the testing side of things. And he didn't feel like he could charge, and he didn't know how to configure it in a way that worked. And so I just want to share our testing strategy with you. It starts with what we call a level 1 testing routine. And in most cases, that's what we put on. If it's a basic cooling system pressure test on an older vehicle, if I can walk out and see that, you know, hey, I've got a hose blown off or something like that, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem lowering the testing charge for something like that. It doesn't bother me at all. What we talk about when we're talking about a level 1 is really when we're plugging the scan tool in. We're not talking about just pulling codes, finding out where the issue lies, and then we're going to go to that system. Let's say it's a map sensor. We're going to do a voltage test on the sensor itself. We're going to verify it has 5 volts. We're going to verify it has ground. We're going to verify it has signal, and that signal, in most cases, you know, you would check for bias voltage. You would check and force it up. You'd force it down just to verify that the signal output changes. And then you would look at that data and try and recreate the concern. Now, I tell my clients in about 90% of all cases, I'm able to determine the cause or causes, but here's the rule in our shop is around the 45-minute mark of this level 1 testing routine, I need you coming to me, talking to me about the fact, here's the evidence that I have. I can make a recommendation with all the available evidence, or I can't make a recommendation, right? I'm not asking anybody to go over that time and keep testing. Now, it's something that we've struggled with in our shop. It's not always that our guys catch that they're going over on time. And so I get that this is a problem in shops. And so that's why we've got primarily one person who does testing in our shop. And we pay him a little bit differently so he can be okay if he's not turning a ton of hours, if he were to get off and not pay attention to the clock, and, you know, it's not going to hurt him too bad. We're not talking about a courtesy inspection when we're talking about testing. Those are two different things, okay? And so, like I said, around the 45-minute mark, if they've got an hour on it, they need to be coming to see me at the 45-minute mark. But it is important that you stay on top of that time. And here's the thing, at the end of the level 1, if you need more testing, and it is not the fault of your people, in other words, it's not a lack of knowledge, it's not that we're missing something that we really need to know, or a tool or a piece of equipment or something that prevents us from being efficient. It's truly that the problem is very complex and it needs a lot of additional digging to find the concern. If that is the case, then we go to the client and we talk to them about additional testing needs and how much the additional testing is going to cost. We're not doing it for free. We're going back and asking for the additional time. So I hope that answers that question of how do we do this. Basically, you set a testing routine, you set a time for the testing routine, you communicate with the technician, you say, hey Bob, I've got an hour on this, I've got 2 hours on this, I've got 3 hours on this, let me know around this time, set that expectation, but hey, around 10 o'clock, I'd like to hear from you on this. We'll talk about where we're going and what we need to do with it. Again, another really important thing about this testing thing is whoever's on the front counter needs to be wise enough, experienced enough, that if somebody shows up with a 325i and it's a 2006, 2000 whatever, and it's in bad shape, guess what? They need to be smart enough to stop and say, hey, this is not our standard repair process. This is something that we're going to have to dig into a little bit more. If this car's been to 5 or 6 shops, guess what? I'm adding additional time because I know this car's been to 5 or 6 shops, and if they couldn't fix it, I'm going to need time to get in there. I need to make sure this consumer is willing to invest into this car with my time. And I know that people get frustrated about that, but here's the deal. Like, if I'm going to go into this car and I'm going to spend 2 and 3 hours and they wouldn't be willing to pay for that time, why am I wasting my time with it? Why am I investing my time into it? It doesn't make any sense, right? And I think that as an industry, we've been doing that for a long time. All these people popped out of the woodwork and they said, yeah, but I do this to sell jobs. You give away work to sell jobs? You reduce your profitability to sell jobs. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you go and you look at that number, you look at the close ratio, you're going to find that giving away testing does not change the close ratio as much as you might think it would. So it's just my opinion, y'all. You just got to be smart about how you do this. You got to have smart, properly trained people that can communicate the value of testing and know how to put guardrails or roadblocks in place when it comes to the testing to make sure the testing's profitable in your shop. It is a talent, it is a skill, it is something you have to learn. And so to the gentleman asking this question, I think that's step number one. Get some information, go to some classes on selling testing, and I believe that you're going to find those answers and find some strategies that works for you. Unfortunately, it's too much for me to be able to explain it all right here on a video, but you know, it is something that you can gain the knowledge and the information to be able to do this with, and I hope this helps. Anyway, just my opinion. Y'all have a good one.